Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Chambliss. I believe Senator Burris is next.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator
Chairman.
Burris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'd like to extend my deep admiration for our two distinguished leaders in their position. And not only are you following the direction of the Commander-in-Chief, but Admiral Mullen, you express your personal view, which is to be commended. What we need is a policy that allows any individual who has the integrity and the commitment to serve this country, to serve this country. We can go back to President Truman, who took the audacity to integrate the services. At one time, my uncles and members of my race couldn't even serve in the military. And we moved to this point of where they're some of the best and brightest that we've had, with generals, and even now the Commander-in-Chief is of African-American heritage. So what we're doing here now is not looking at the integrity and the commitment that individuals can make, not based on their sexual orientation, for the defense of this country. I say the policy needs to be changed, the policy must be changed, and we must have everyone who's capable, willing, and able to volunteer to defend this country, defend this great American tradition of ours, to have the opportunity to serve regardless to their sexual orientation. And so based on that, we must continue to have that American spirit and have individuals who are willing to serve. I don't have a question, Mr. Chairman. I just have the statement. And I hope that we'll look at legislation, by the way. The House has drawn up a bill. There are 185 members on this House bill, which was House Bill 1283. And I'm hoping and praying that we will get moving on this issue, get it besides us, and not be wasting the taxpayers' time or all of the energy in this issue on something that is so basic in human rights and opportunities for individuals in this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Burris. Senator Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, unlike my colleagues, I do have some questions rather than just a statement to ask. Admiral Mullen, we know that many of our NATO allies allow gays and lesbians to serve openly, and many of these countries have deployed troops who are serving with us in Afghanistan. Are you aware of any impact on combat effectiveness by the decision of our NATO allies to allow gays and lesbians to serve openly?
Senator Collins, I've talked to several of my counterparts in countries whose militaries allow gays and lesbians to serve openly, and there has been, as they have told me, no impact on military effectiveness.
We've heard today the concern that if Don't Ask, Don't Tell is repealed, that it would affect unit cohesiveness or morale. Are you aware of any studies, any evidence that suggests that repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell would undermine unit cohesion?
I'm not. In fact, the 1993 RAND study focused heavily on unit cohesion, and that became the principal point put forward by the military leadership at the time, and I understand that. I understand what it is, I understand what goes into it, and that there's been no thorough or comprehensive work done with respect to that aspect since 1993, and that's part of what needs to be addressed as we move forward over this year.
I think I would just underscore that. I mean, part of what we need to do is address a number of assertions that had been made for which we have no basis in fact.
Exactly.
We need, the purpose of the review that we are undertaking is to find out what the force, what the men and women in our armed forces and as Senator Webb said, and their families really think about this. And the fact is, at this point, we don't really know.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Collins. Senator Lieberman is next, and then, assuming nobody else comes in, Senator McCaskill would be next, and then Senator Reed. Senator Lieberman.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I opposed the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy when it was created by this committee in 1993, and I remain opposed to it today. Therefore, I support repealing it as soon as possible. My feeling, to state it simply then, was that what mattered most was not how a member of the military lived his or her private sexual life, but that they were prepared to risk their lives in defense of our country. And that my judgment was that in a combat situation, a member of the military in a tank or an MRAP today is going to care a lot more about the capability and courage of the soldier next to him than they are about the sexual orientation of that soldier, just as over the years, as Senator Burris referred to, they came to care a lot less about the race of the soldier next to them than about his or her courage or capability. And therefore, I'm grateful that the President has said he supports the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I thank you, Secretary and Chairman, for saying that the question now is not whether, but how, and I think for us, really, when we will repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Am I right that what you're telling us today is that what you're going to do as soon as possible, at least within after 45 days, is to determine how you can reduce the impact of the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy within the current state of the law? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The numbers actually have gone down fairly substantially. They were about 600 and some in 2008, 428 in 2009. And we don't know. I mean, we can't quantify what the possible changes that I've talked about here, what impact they would have on that. But at least it would, if we were able to do something like that, would make these folks less vulnerable to somebody seeking revenge or whatever their motives in terms of trying to wreck somebody's career.
Am I correct, just to ask the question and get it on the record, that your judgment as advised by counsel is that it requires an act of Congress repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell for the actual policy itself to be ended in the military? You can't do it by executive action.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
I wanted to ask you if I'm sure one of the reactions to what you've announced today will be that this is a delay. I wanted to ask you to consider not only the 45-day limit, but whether you would think about providing regular reports to Congress and therefore the public on the progress of the study that you're doing during this next year.
I don't see any reason why we can't do that.
I appreciate that. And look, then the final obviously is that it's up to us in the Congress and in the Senate. We've got to get 60 votes to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, or else it will remain in effect. Thank you.
Unless there's a provision inside the defense authorization bill that goes to the floor, which would then require an amendment to strike it from the bill, in which case the 60-vote rule would be turning the other way.
No, it's good. It is with great appreciation that I accept the higher wisdom of the chairman of the committee. I think that's a great way to go.
That's on the record, everybody.